if I should appear live any moment, that would be great. Then I shall just be standing here for 10 minutes. That Ben Bay is the Twitch handle. And this is live, and this is live. Oh yeah, I was supposed to get something to eat. I didn't. Should probably turn this off and turn this off. Okay. How's it looking? Hi, Lena. Can someone tell me if the stream is working, please? Okay, thank you. What do you think? Should this be here? This? I like it, but they also told me have a plain background, so I don't know. I hear you. Understood. Thank you. How many times do I have to send the link to the dem? Yes, I can get you the link, don't worry. Okay. That's a bit much. So for the sake of the Twitch stream, normally I start with some sort of talking about some sort of trivia I find interesting. But today is a little different because the stream's embedded in the Software Center of Excellence Global Conference, and we're supposed to start at 15 sharp, which is why I've been standing here and will be standing here for a little bit longer, just waiting for the queue to get started. So if you're looking at the recording of this, then if it's awkward, then that's why. All set. Hello, I'm Ben, and you are tuned in to the online Coding Dojo. Now, normally I would start these presentations with like 5 minutes of interesting trivia, or at least trivia I find interesting, and wait till everyone's joined the stream before I start explaining what we're going to do today. But today is a little different, since today the dojo is part of the Software Center of Excellence Global Conference. We will just sort of hit the ground running immediately. So let me just become small and go stand in the corner, like so. Friends, colleagues, it is an honor and a privilege to present to you today's Coding Dojo. I think you'll find we'll have a quite excellent challenge prepared for you today. I hope you're ready to do some coding, have a little fun, try something a little different than usual. And I gotta say, today's challenge, it's something that's been on the wish list for many of the people who organize coding dojos over here for a while now. We just never been able to sort of find the right format for it. And then this sort of global pandemic thing happened and working from home became the norm. And then sort of we realized that today's challenge really works out well in the online format. So my point is, let's never forget that necessity most definitely is the mother of invention. I will click some buttons in this presentation. First of all, logistics of the virtual dojo. Build a team or rebuild a team if you still have one from the last time. Understand the puzzle. The puzzle is essentially what stands in for requirements for today's challenge. It's the reason that we're going to be building some code. And accept the challenge, which is kind of like a limitation or a restriction that we impose for the purposes of education and fun. So after that, I will be hanging out in the voice chat on Teams and on Discord to assist people who need assistance with the challenge. I have a bunch of people there to help me with that, so that's great. Thanks very much, guys. So, logistics of the virtual dojo. We're on Teams this time, Philip's internal. Don't worry, you don't have to type all that. There is a PDF available with that link on it that you can click. We're also on Discord. There's a public Discord server. You're all welcome. You're all invited. You can access the previous Coding Dojos there and be notified about future ones. Do keep in mind that it's public. So if you want to do some teaming up there and some screen sharing there, then be sure to first tuck away those company secrets. The previous versions of the dojo can be found here. Recordings of previous streams, other challenges, other puzzles, and then this one will be added to it once finished. So, to build a team, some of you may have come prepared. If not, we recommend a team size of 2 to 3 coders. You can start a team via Discord, where you have the permission to create text and or voice channels, and you can give it your team's name, and then you can use those channels to cooperate. On Teams, you're able to create a sub-team within the Virtual Coding Dojo Teams team. So, to illustrate, you can click on those little dots there. Then you can do add channel right there. You type in your amazing team name and you set it, the privacy mode, to standard. If you pick the other mode, then myself and other people who may want to assist you with your challenge won't be able to join. You can click over there and get a link to the channel that you just created. You can share it with your teammates, which is handy. And then there's a button right there in the top right to start a call for your team. Now, today's puzzle is based off of screen grabs that I didn't make, so credit where it is due. I will explain what we're looking to create in code this afternoon. First of all, there are 2 players. There's you, and there's another player. Each round, the players each only make one choice. They can either choose to cheat or to cooperate. Now, if you choose cooperate, you will pay 1 coin and the other player will receive 3 coins. If you choose cheat, you pay nothing and the other player receives nothing. So if you can sort of visualize that and you put it in a 2x2 matrix of the choices, then it looks like this. You cheat, you cooperate, they cheat, they cooperate. You see if you both cooperate, you each gain a net 2 points. But if one person cheats and the other cooperates, then, you know, the cheating person is obviously benefiting more. So the goal is clearly to collect as many points as you can, preferably more than anyone else. And we're going to play this puzzle via a web service. So I'll explain a bit more about that. It may sound a little bit confusing at this point when I explain it, but rest assured it will make sense when we get to the actual doing it. So the web service will create groups of 3 or more players. Each team will be 1 player on the server. The server will make these groups of 3 or more players and it will play little tournaments. It will match each player in the group with each other player in the group to play a variable number of rounds. The server may also decide to match a player against themselves. So you don't know. There's no way for you to tell. So you think you may be playing against another team, but it's actually you're playing with yourself or playing with your own player, so to speak. So at this point, you may be thinking, okay, sounds cool, but how? Well, for me to explain that, I would need to explain today's challenge. And today's challenge is the 70s compiler challenge. What does that mean? Well, that means that you must write your code without using any development tooling. You can't use any IDEs, no compilers, no debuggers, no syntax highlighting. You can only use a plain text editor. Additionally, you can submit your code to the compiler only once. Asterisk, sort of. Well, the server will play multiple tournaments, and each time you can resubmit your code if you want to. More on that later. But if that wasn't tricky enough, the old compiler that we have running in our server only accepts C code. So we're going to be asking you to write some C code today, without any development tooling, syntax highlighting, or compilers or debuggers. Sounds interesting, right? Now, if you absolutely, completely, and totally refuse to write some C code today, then we have the option for you to play the challenge in Python. But we seriously suggest that you at least try to solve it in C first. It's not that difficult, you can do it, we believe in you. So, how to get to work using the API? There's some team information. The first thing your team should do is you should choose a client ID string, just an arbitrary string, and keep it a secret. It's how the server will identify your team. If you've used a client ID from a previous CodingDojo puzzle, please use the same one so that we can add up all the scores across all the puzzles. That'd be kind of fun. You can announce your team, you can put yourself on the dashboard by doing a web request to our server, just an HTTP post with some JSON to /dashboard/decorate. You plug in your client ID and you fill in some team information. Choose a cool team name, maybe select an icon, who is in your team, where you plan to keep your code, and which challenges that you're taking on today. So that's the 70s compiler challenge in C or in Python or something. You don't have to memorize all this. This document will be available as PDF, so you can just read it all back later. So the compiler server has a status, and you can check the status of the server. You can do an HTTP GET and you will receive some JSON if you go to /compiler/status. Or you can go to a dashboard that we built especially for this occasion. It looks like this. It's not very good because I built it mostly sort of, and I really suck at front ends. So apologies in advance, but it more or less sort of works. If you can do a better job, then feel free, go right ahead. To submit your code and actually join this puzzle, you do a post with some JSON to /compiler/submit code. In there you plug your client ID, you choose a player name, which will be visible on the dashboard for everyone to see, and then in a string you put your code. It may contain new lines, it may contain escaped double quotes, other such interesting characters, but it's C, and you could write a C program in a single line, so you don't necessarily need to, but you could. You'll receive a response, it looks something like this. You'll get a player ID in return, which is just sort of a GUID that lets you look up your own entry on the dashboard, and you'll get a status code. The status code is 0 if everything was okay. Then we're waiting for the compiler to pick up your code and run it. The status code can be 1. Then your code is missing some vital functions and it's not going to work. You can resubmit your code immediately. You don't have to wait in this case. That would be a little unfair. But if you did already submit your code, you'll get a status response 2, which means you already submitted your code and you have to wait till the compiler has handled it in order to submit again. You can, of course, build some code to implement this API that then monitors the dashboard and submits your code. But you can also use existing tools like Postman or Insomnia to perform the web calls for you, and then you can just focus on writing the code. That is the goal of the exercise for today. Tools like this, where you can just sort of type in the UI, the data that you want to send. So what is this code that we need you to write? Well, the C code you implement must contain at least the following 3 functions. There must be a setup function, there must be a turn function, and there must be a teardown function. The setup function is called once before the match starts. You can use this to initialize some variables or allocate some memory or not. That's entirely up to you. And conversely, the teardown function will be called once after the match has ended, so that you can clean up anything you might need to clean up. The turn function is called once for every turn in the match. So if the match has 10 turns, it's called 10 times in a row. And if it has 1,000 turns, then it's called 1,000 times in a row. And what you should do in this function is you must call at least a play function that we made available. The play function takes a Boolean as argument. It's called cheat. If you pass in true, that means this turn you'll cheat. If you pass in false, that means you'll cooperate. If you do not call the play function inside your turn function, that will get your code disqualified. Additionally, causing seg faults or out of bounds or memory leaks or other such errors will also get your code disqualified. So then you have to wait, and then the next compiler run you can resubmit it and try and get it right. There are some precompiler constants available that will help you implement any fancy algorithm for successfully playing this game. There's a define number of turns, which the default is 10, but like I said, it can be anywhere between 1 and 100,000. I believe I said 1,000 earlier, but it's 100,000 is the upper limit. Inside the turn function, you can also call the method getCoinsReceivedLastTurn, which will tell you how many coins you received last turn. So that tells you if the other player is cooperating with you or if they're cheating. If you call getCoinsReceivedLastTurn in your first turn, it will return 0. because it's the first turn. There wasn't a last turn, so you get 0. You may begin. The API is available right here on this address. That's also where you can view the dashboard. We want to especially thank Gert-Jan Maas for hosting this thing. And if you want to learn more about game theory and the evolution of trust, you should definitely go to this site, ncase.me/trust. It's where I got all these lovely graphics. At this point, I would be happy to take questions. Feel free to go ahead and try out our compiler by making these web requests. In about 20 minutes or so after any possible questions, I have some more slides for you with some more additional options for playing this game. I will be seeing you on voice chat. Oh, yes. Documentation is available inside Teams. There's a files section with these slides in it, and there's a Postman collection, and there's an Insomnia collection. Also, these will be available in Discord, on the Discord server, as soon as I or someone else uploads them. Yes. Any questions so far? I just mentioned where the documentation is, didn't I? I am available for questions. If there are no questions, then we can just go right to it. Go to the dashboard. I can press this button here and go here. So once you submit your code, it will show up right here. There's a question on Twitch. Where is the Teams channel? The Teams channel is only available for Philips employees, I'm afraid. Everyone else, we can just use Discord. There's a link inside the PDF, and hopefully there are people available to pass it around if you need it. I'm being told there is a live event chat. There you can find a link to the Teams environment as well. Hello? Hello? Is this thing on? Can you hear me? Is this screen back on? Yeah? All right. I saw so far that a bunch of people set up some teams, put their teams on the server dashboard. That's great. No one submitted any code yet. I take it that means that you're all being very careful before you submit anything, which is wise. In the meantime, I'll explain to you the... Oh, something went wrong? Okay, apparently we're not live yet. Let's just wait a second until they give me the signal that we're live. I mean, I know we're live to the people watching on Twitch, but... Okay, so I saw that a whole bunch of people managed to announce their teams to the dashboard, put the names up. I didn't see anyone submit any code yet. I can only take that to mean that you're being very careful before you submit anything, which is wise. But it's good to remember that you could also just write a really simple program that just does the same thing every turn and then just see if it works. Get that to run and then make it more complicated after. However, in the meantime, I have for you an extra bonus level +1. I'm going to make it slightly more difficult. So previously, we mentioned that there are precompiler constants available. The number of turns is the first one that I showed you. The number of rounds in each match. So if you think about it, if you're playing a match with another player and there's only one round that you're playing, what would be the optimal strategy? To cheat or to cooperate? I mean, if you cooperate, there's only one round, there's no chance for them to return your cooperation. So having more number of rounds definitely has an impact on what the optimal strategy is. There are more compiler constants available, or more variables to the game, that I want to introduce you to. This one is co-op reward. The default is 3, and this is the number of coins rewarded for cooperating. So the default is 3, which is a positive sum game, which means that if you spend 1 coin, 3 coins are received. That means 2 coins appear out of nowhere. So the total number of coins is positive for the number of turns. It's a positive sum game. But the co-op reward could also be 1, which is called a zero-sum game, which means 1 coin spent is 1 coin received, which means the total number of coins remains constant. And in order for you to gain any coins, the other person has to lose them. So what would be the optimal strategy in that case? What if it's 2? What if it's 5? You figure that one out. There's some more, and this one's my absolute favorite. There's also a precompiler constant called chance of failure, which is true or false. The default is false. But if it's set to true, then there's a small chance that your attempt to cooperate will fail and you will cheat instead. The fun thing about that is there's no way for you to know if your cooperation attempt was successful. There's also no way for you to know if the other player has decided to cheat you or if their attempt to cooperate has failed. All you see is get coins received last turn is 0. Did they cheat or did they try to cooperate and fail? You don't know. So if this thing is set to true, what does that imply for the optimal strategy of the game? What does that imply for the optimal strategy if you have 10 turns, or if you have 100 turns, or if you have 100,000 turns? Surely some of those cheats you see coming from the other player might be accidental. But then what should you do in response? So these additional options are available for you to incorporate in your algorithm. there'll be an additional document available on Teams and on Discord that contains these slides, so that you don't have to memorize any of this. Additionally, we have a little slide available for how to run this challenge in Python for those of you struggling with C. I do want to say, however, if you want to do this in Python, you have to be very careful about your new line characters and your indents. Stuff like that doesn't matter if you do it in C. It definitely matters if you do it in Python. And so putting that in one of those strings to the web server, pay attention. So I will be available on Teams and on Discord maybe later to answer any questions you might have about this challenge. Additionally, we'll have more coding dojos in the works coming down the pipes in the future. If you want to stay in touch, there'll be announcements going out via any of the usual channels once they are there. For the remaining of this time slot in the software conference, we'll be broadcasting the scoreboards. Hopefully we'll see some live actions between the teams battling it out to collect those precious coins. And I'll be joining them. I'll be right there. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much for tuning in. And I hope you'll join us for the future challenges. Yes, go ahead. Oh, yes, that's very right. The challenges the server doesn't stop at the end of the conference time slot. I'll be here the rest of the day. We can continue working on this challenge for as long as you like. I'll be on Teams and we'll be on Discord. So I hope to see you there. And now I click this button and I click this one. All right.